Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, I want you to start off by doing a quick mental exercise for me. Step right into the shoes of a technical recruiter. Imagine you're reviewing hundreds, maybe even thousands of code portfolios every single week, just trying to find that one perfect candidate. What do you think you're actually looking for? Because honestly, it might not be what you think. And that brings us to a pretty harsh truth. A program may run perfectly, but if nobody can understand it, maintaining it becomes completely impossible. A lot of beginners think programming is just about making the code work. But working code, that's really just the baseline. It's the bare minimum. What actually gets you the interview is readability. Think about it. Code is actually read way more often than it's written. If you write a messy program today and then come back to it 6 months later, it might as well be written in ancient hieroglyphics. It's a universal developer experience to look at old code, wonder, who wrote this absolute garbage, only to realize it was you. Now, multiply that confusion by a whole team of developers trying to edit the exact same project. If your code isn't readable, it's just incredibly expensive and painful to maintain. So let's dive right into this. When you send off that portfolio link, what is the absolute first thing a hiring manager actually lays eyes on? I'll give you a hint. It is definitely not your brilliant backend algorithm or your clever database architecture. It's your documentation, specifically the README file. You can think of the README as a user guide for other developers. It's usually the very first thing anyone sees when they open your project repository. It sets the entire tone for your portfolio and instantly communicates your level of professionalism to whoever is looking at it. Let's look at how this builds into a practical framework. You want to make sure you hit every item on this perfect README checklist. You need your project name, a solid description, the features, step-by-step installation instructions, usage instructions, the technologies you used, author info, and contribution guidelines. For example, if you build a simple quiz application, your README needs to explicitly explain how to install it, how to set up the database, and exactly how to run the app. Just don't leave your reviewers guessing. All right, so once they get past the README, they're finally looking at your actual code. And here is where we hit a massive paradigm shift. You need to write self-documenting code. This is the idea that truly good code drastically reduces the need for excessive comments. Your code should honestly explain itself just by the way you write it. Just look at the visual contrast between these two approaches. Up at the top, we have the beginner version, A equals P times R times T divided by 100. Like, what do A, P, R, and T even mean? You'd need a whole paragraph of comments just to explain that one single line. But look at the professional version right below it. Simple interest equals principal amount times interest rate times time period divided by 100. Using descriptive variable names instantly proves your competence, and it entirely eliminates the need for redundant comments. Now, this naturally brings up a question that trips up almost every junior developer trying to build a portfolio. Should we just comment every single line of code? It kind of feels like the right thing to do, right? Like you're showing how thorough and meticulous you are. Absolutely not. No way. Here is the golden rule. Good comments answer why. Bad comments simply repeat what. This is literally the core mantra you need to remember from this explainer. Obvious comments add absolutely zero value because the code itself already tells the machine and the reader exactly what is happening. Let's look at this in practice. The bad comment says increment I by 1 right above I++. Well, yeah, we know that. Any developer knows what I++ does. It's completely redundant. But the good comment? It reveals the intent. Skip the header row before processing data. It gives us the actual reasoning behind the operation. It tells the hiring manager that you understand the data and the business logic, not just basic syntax. Okay, so where should you actually be using comments? Well, you should save them for complex algorithms and business rules. If you have some highly complicated math or a very specific organizational rule driving your logic, dropping a brief explanation right there will save future developers and the recruiter reading your code a massive amount of time and headache.
Take a look at this to see exactly what I mean. Without a comment, discount equals total amount times 0.20 is just a totally random calculation. Why 20%? Did you just make that number up? But with the comment, customers with premium membership receive 20% discount, a hiring manager instantly understands the specific business rule driving that value. You're showing them that you think like a real engineer solving real-world business problems.
Moving right along, let's talk about another incredibly effective way to show professionalism: formal code tags. The to-do keyword is used by developers all the time to identify tasks and unfinished work that still need attention. Using temporary notes like //to-do, add email validation, shows that you have a firm grasp on professional project management. It proves you don't just leave things hanging without a trace. And similarly, we have the Fix Me tag. This is a marker used in pro projects to flag known issues or bugs that need resolving. If a recruiter sees a /Fix Me resolve rounding issue in your code, they honestly don't see a flaw. They see a mature, honest developer who meticulously tracks known bugs during active development. All right, stepping back from the line-by-line stuff for a second, let's look at the bigger picture API and function documentation. Every single public function you write needs comprehensive documentation explaining its overall purpose, the parameters it requires, and the exact values it returns. Structuring it clearly, like breaking down a calculate percentage function into its specific purpose, parameters, and return values, is incredibly powerful. And the coolest part, if you use systems like JSDoc in JavaScript, docstrings in Python, or JavaDoc, these formatted comments can automatically generate professional, web-ready documentation. Let me tell you, that is a massive flex for your portfolio. Okay, listen up, because this next part is absolutely crucial. What is the most dangerous commenting mistake you can possibly make? Because it completely violates the golden rule of code maintenance, and it's an instant, massive red flag for any hiring manager reviewing your work. It's outdated comments. Seriously, this happens when your underlying code logic changes over time, but you totally forget to update the comments attached to it. It creates a massive amount of confusion for anyone reading the code, and it can lead to incredibly severe bugs down the line when someone trusts the comment over the actual code itself. You can literally see the jarring disconnect right here. The comment confidently says calculate 10% discount, but right beneath it, the actual code is applying a 20% multiplier. You absolutely must establish a workflow where you update your comments the exact second the underlying code logic changes. So let's do a quick recap of those major red flags a recruiter looks for to separate the amateurs from the pros. Avoid these 4 things at all costs. Outdated comments, obvious comments that just repeat what the code is already doing, excessive comments that just clutter up the screen and make it harder to read, and poor naming conventions. Trying to compensate for lazy single-letter variable names with massive blocks of text, it's a trap. Just don't do it. Instead, you want to embrace these best practices to really make your portfolio shine. Keep your comments concise. Always explain the why behind your logic, never just the what. And rigorously document your public functions and APIs so other developers can easily use your work. And that brings us to this simple, beautiful equation that summarizes everything we've talked about today. Readable code plus useful comments plus good documentation equals professional software development. This formula is your ultimate takeaway for proving you are genuinely ready for a software engineering role. Because here's the real secret. Recruiters and hiring managers assess maintainability just as much as they assess whether your program actually works. Excellent documentation demonstrates that you have real teamwork skills and genuine engineering discipline. It proves you aren't just a coder, you are a collaborator. So I'm going to leave you with one final provocative thought. If a hiring manager clicked on your GitHub repositories right at this very moment, would your comments and documentation prove you're ready to be hired? Take a really hard look at your portfolio with everything we've discussed today in mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go clean up that code.
If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, like this video, comment your favorite programming language, subscribe to Future Break Coder, because many exciting coding and futuristic tech videos are coming soon.